This is the second episode of the Women in Corrosion Engineering and Protective Coatings Industry. With me today, I have Brooke Diven, who is a physical scientist with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and she's also involved with the Paint Technology Center. Brooke, as a physical scientist and a director of field relations with the Paint Technology Center at the Army Corps of Engineers, could you please talk about your center and also to your role within the center and overall with the Corps of Engineers as well?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we are the center of expertise for all of the Army Corps of Engineers regarding paints and coatings. So we get questions from the country and the globe. Hey, the paint's falling off. Can you come help us? Or what coating would be best for this? Or what certification do we need to make sure is in our contract to make sure we're getting quality on our jobs? We kind of cradle to grave help them with their projects however they see fit. We're just here to be a center of expertise and help for them. That's kind of my favorite part of the job. I get to dive into, hey, what do you use on fish ladders? It's not going to hurt the fish. Or what do you put under ice on an ice skating rink on an Army installation? Or in a lab in Romania? I've gotten all kinds of crazy questions, and it's always fun to get those different things. We also do a lot of guidance criteria updates where we maintain and rewrite, review UFGS documents, UFC documents, as well as industry and military specifications. So we sit on a lot of SSPC and NACE committees, boards, standards, that sort of thing, to make sure that our interests are protected in those. It's very important those standards are written in a way that do what we need them to do, and to be able to execute what we need those documents to do, you gotta be active in them and make sure they're maintained. We also are involved on the international scale. We work with the PIONC group, which the letters of the acronym don't really make sense because it's an international group. It's not English. But what that stands for is the World Association for Waterborne Transport Infrastructure. And so my lab counterpart, Dr. Rebecca Wilson, and I serve on Working Group 190 for painting of lock and dam gates. And what we're doing is we're putting together a international best practices document for how to go about painting those types of structures. We also do a lot of teaching and education and training type things in our laboratory. We host a couple courses per year in-house where we actually get the students in here. We've got a blasting cabinet. We get them doing some abrasive blasting. We get them spraying paint, using inspection equipment and doing different techniques here in the lab so that they can take that back with them and do more than just sit and listen to a PowerPoint. We also do applicator certifications on the big 6 by 6 foot piece of steel where we go out and say, yeah, you know what you're doing and you're good to go to apply the coating. And last but not least, our lab runs a quality assurance paint testing program. We do batch testing on a couple hundred samples of coatings each year prior to being applied on our structures. We focus on all the coatings in the hydraulic steel structures guide spec, but we'll test anything if they give us some sort of standard or way to test that coating. And last but not least, so that those four things that I just mentioned, the guidance criteria, the center of expertise, the teaching and training, and the paint testing is kind of my side of the house. I mentioned my counterpart and my partner in crime is Dr. Wilson, and she leads up the R&D program, but we're kind of each other's backup plan and run the Paint Technology Center together. She's got a multi-million-dollar R&D program running now, looking at all types of new and exciting coatings technologies that can be beneficial to the Army Corps of Engineers or Army or all of the DoD.
So the center, you are really providing a lot of information to all elements of the Department of Defense and other agencies as well. So,
yes.
Is the focus more in consolidating information and technology, or is it more directed towards cost savings and efficiencies?
Savings and efficiencies is a big deal for us. As you know, and as a lot of end users will say, our maintenance plans are always a great idea. And we hope that happens, but in the end, what we end up doing is throwing money at the worst looking structure, the one that's already passed beyond failure. So yeah, we're involved in the projects the whole way through, but we need to give a technology that is going to be able to be put out in the field and perform. without a doubt. And so we err probably on being a little conservative in that way, but we have to provide solutions that work long term with little to no maintenance.
That's great. And how long has the center been in existence? Is it a relatively new center, or has it been around for quite some time?
It's been around for quite some time. The paint lab actually started at Rock Island Arsenal in northern Illinois, and Al Beidelman worked up there for a couple of years. He's a very avid SSPC member, and he actually moved the center here down in the 70s and opened the Paint Technology Center in 1973, and we have been here ever since. He still has the same desk.
Interesting, interesting. So, Brooke, this past February, at the Coatings Plus conference with SSPC in Long Beach, you were the recipient of the Women in Coatings Impact Award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So that award recognizes a professional woman in the industry that's making a very large impact, obviously, in our industry. You as a professional, as winning the award, and also as a young professional and female, what career advice do you have for young professional females who are graduating from universities and college, or maybe they're looking to come into this industry, where maybe they have a chemical or a mechanical or a general scientific background, and they're looking at the not only corrosion aspect but also the coating side? What advice do you have for them?
Sure. My advice is to jump in. I landed in coatings when I had no plan to really land in coatings. I was a geologist by trade, and I fell in love with the industry. I think it's really fun, exciting, and constantly changing. So my biggest advice is don't be intimidated. Use that little fear as your motivation, and be knowledgeable and go in and give it your best shot. Get involved in, even if you feel like you aren't 100% ready to be involved on that level, don't be worried about what you're saying or what questions you may ask that someone may look at as being silly. Instead, jump in and get involved, because you learn that way, and you might be bringing a new perspective to a meeting that wasn't there before. If you have the same people meeting on the same problem over and over and over, you're going to get the same type of outcomes. But if you get some new people in there with different outlooks, you might be successful. So my biggest advice is to jump in, do and execute your work at the highest level that you can. Ignore the fact that you're a female in that aspect. Put your steel-toed boots on, your hard hat, your high-vis vest, and all your PPE, and go out and do your job to the best of your ability. Are you going to get some doubt? It's possible. That I always struggle a little bit when I walk into a room of people that have been doing their jobs a certain way for many decades. You go in there with answers and good solutions and work with them, it usually goes your way. And within a short amount of time, you're working together. And that's where not only can I teach them what I know, but I can learn from them and the problems they're facing, bring those problems back, and try to figure out a solution to them. So I guess my advice is jump in, even if you feel like you're a little bit not quite ready, and dig in, because it will only benefit you and the industry.
I like the part where you mentioned about how, you never really thought about, in your wildest dreams, you thought, oh, I'm going to get involved in protective coatings. And I encounter that a lot. It's kind of, most people get thrown into it. Your advice that you gave, and I think the testament with the Corps of Engineers, and then also too with the Paint Technology Center, is that both yourself and Rebecca are running the program, and the program is making a huge impact. Now, I see now why you became the Impact Award winner, because of the impact that you're making, not only in focusing on dealing with issues of operational readiness and efficiencies, and dealing with corrosion, the cost of corrosion, but also, as you said, you're trying to make sure that you stay ahead of the game, so that you're not just playing reaction, you're actually being proactive with those assets that are out there. When we look at, young professionals, your experience, based on your experience, is the corrosion control in the protective coatings industry, are they doing enough to promote careers in leadership positions for women? What do you think of it?
There was an event back in 2015 when SSPC had their annual conference. I believe it was in Las Vegas. And I was very, very green. I had just signed on for a coatings position as a geologist, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can. And I saw on the schedule this women's panel. And I'm like, okay, I need to go listen to this. So I remember walking in, and I remember these coatings legends now. I didn't know it at the time, but now I know why they were sitting up there. It was very well deserved. But you had Lydia and Allison and Cindy O'Malley and all of these exceptional, strong, smart women that are very, very successful sitting up there. And I think that that's the moment where I sat back and was like, whoa, coatings is a lot more than I ever thought it was. And this can be a career. You walk in a lot of rooms in this industry and you don't see that many females. If you do a tally, just male to female ratio, you're going to see that it's very skewed one direction. But I try to completely ignore that fact. And, you know, the legends that came before me, some of those that I mentioned previously, have broke through some of those ceilings and keep building new areas that women can expand to. But I think that what I hope to see is that eventually that you and the industry or SSPC, NACE, or anyone doesn't have to do anything for growing the females, because we're there. And I hope that all companies are promoting and hiring the most qualified and best candidates, regardless of gender. That's what I would like to be known for after this, is not for being an impact as a female, but I want to have an impact, period. And I think everybody, all females in the industry are striving for that. And I think we just got to keep moving it forward. And I'm not sure it's anyone's responsibility, but I think it's a responsibility, being a woman, to continue to show up, be professional, and do my job to the best of my ability, so that they're like, oh, wow, she knew what she was talking about. That was a good help. And we'll use her services again in the future.
Yeah, being staff here at SSPC over, the last 7 years, I've had the opportunity to work with, people like Lydia Frenzel and Cindy O'Malley,
Yeah.
Allison Kalin, and Joyce Wright. And in fact,
Yes.
Allison and Joyce are on our board of governors, and I'm always amazed to learn more from them, especially what they've encountered in their early days to where we're at now in this industry. And to your point, I do see changes happening, and like you said, you're talking about issues. You want to focus more on the impact, not just being female, being a woman,
Yes.
a woman scientist and things like that. And I think the industry has been changing. There's still a lot to address that, to have
Yes.
not only gender, but also diversity and things like that as well. So when we really look at professionals, young female professionals who are coming in the industry, are you a mentor for anyone, or do you do mentoring? Could you talk?
Oh, yes. So we have a bunch of students that work in our laboratory right now. We have one mechanical engineering student from U of I. His name is Tanner, and he does a lot of our paint testing for us. I think that we counted it up, and I think we've mentored 10 students already, and 2 of them have went on to pursue careers with the federal government, which is a win for us. But yeah, and then not only outside of that, I am very passionate about getting STEM, science, technology, engineering. I think they've added art now, so it's actually STEAM, not STEM, art, math, and getting that into young people, getting them excited about what we do, and really get them in here. So each summer we host a high school and a middle school camp. This year we're doing the murder mystery of Lyle and Louise. It's a whole week of forensics. We actually pay the kids with an educational stipend to get them excited, get them in the door. It helps to cover transportation costs. It's nothing big, and they can come and participate. From there, we have programs where students can be involved as early as 16 years old as an 8 or 9 week apprenticeship. Then we go all the way through through the stages, and they can work through their college days. They can apply for different scholarships. We have the whole Army Educational Outreach Program is outstanding, of getting people involved and allowing us a mechanism to get young people into the lab and let them try things out. I didn't know I wanted to do paint until I fell into the laboratory as a student. So I'm super thankful for that experience, and it really helped me grow into my career.
Well, and the other thing too, when we look at, especially on the protective coating side, this industry, SSPC going into this year, we celebrate 70 years. So this industry,
Wow.
when you think about it, it's a relatively young industry compared to other industries. And to your point, a lot of the pioneers that were involved in, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and also the changes that happened in the 80s going into the 90s, a lot of them are retired. Some have unfortunately passed away, but they're still readily available and willing to help a lot of the
Hmm.
younger professionals. So this is a great opportunity for everyone, the Corps of Engineers, my organization, other entities out there to really come together and help, grow our industry by mentoring, by participating in STEM or STEAM, whatever it is now, and also
Yeah.
interns and mentoring and things like that. So, Brooke, we covered your background with the Corps of Engineers, and, we talked about, your role and Rebecca's role with the Paint Technology Center. In your, what recommendations would you have for, professional women who are looking at, career paths in let's say, corrosion and protective coatings industry? What recommendation?
um, My recommendation is this industry is fantastic. I came in and it's blown me away. When I first started, I'm like, oh yeah, what's paint? That'll be easy. No big deal. How complicated could paint be? Well, an entire world. And it has so many possibilities and different ways you can take it and spin it and really build a career that you truly love. Um, but I like what you said earlier. There are a lot of these coding legends still around. And I know personally, that's one thing that I've really tried to do is to listen and learn from them. I mentioned Al Beidelman earlier, who's been, I think he's missed a SSPC since 1973. And when I was first starting out, I spent 2 years sitting in front of his desk. And every paint question that would come across his desk, he'd be like, what do you think about this one? Or here, how would you answer this? And it was kind of a pop quiz as of sorts, but it really made me learn the material in a much more applied way and helped me out. And I also really enjoy talking to those legendary women that I've met at these conferences and getting involved with the specifications and standards side of it has truly, truly helped my personal growth. I would highly recommend that to any newcomer. You get into those rooms of those committee meetings and you come out with a just much better understanding of what's going on throughout the industry, not even just in that little bitty realm. So my biggest advice, jump in, get involved as much as you can, continue to learn and learn from the ways they did it in the past, but also continue to advance. And I know that that's kind of a difficult task, but yeah, my biggest advice is put your boots on, go out in the field, learn as much as you can, and listen to those around you.
I like that. It's great advice. Put on the boots and get out there and watch the paint dry, but have fun doing it.
Exactly.
A lot of hands on. So, Brooke, in closing, we've talked about a lot. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you feel is important to close out this interview?
I think the biggest important thing I'd like to mention is if you want to see a change in the industry in any spec or standard, instead of complaining about it, jump in and try to make it better. Committees, having the more people in the room with different opinions only makes those documents stronger and makes the policy stronger when it's used. So I guess my biggest advice would be just really, really dig in and get involved on a deeper level, because it's not only good for the industry, but it also is very good for you. The networking you gain and the personal growth from the knowledge that you have to dig up along the way, it really teaches you a lot.
Very good, very good. So for everyone watching this episode, I will have a contact information for Brooke in the comments below. We're going to look to continue this discussion, and the next goal is to look at the applicator for surface preparation and applicator side, and look to find a craft worker, female craft worker, who's working in the trades, to talk about the career opportunities working behind the gun, behind the nozzle, and things like that as well. Brooke, thank you for your time. I very much appreciate this opportunity to talk with you.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. See you later.
Bye-bye.